Hello from the other side. Welcome to Total Disclosure. My name is Ty, and I am the host and creator of the show. I want to start off by saying thank you to every single person listening and watching on your chosen platform. Remember to go above and beyond by following and rating the show. It's free, and it tremendously helps us with getting to new audiences and helping with our algorithm. You can also help support the show by joining our membership on either Anchor or YouTube. For as low as the price of a cup of joe every month, you could be listening to ad-free content, gaining early access, and getting a yearly gift. Making this show is a passion, however, it isn't cheap. And this is how we keep the show free for you, the listener. Thank you in advance. Now let's get the party started.
Blanket statements to cover the entire UFO phenomenon over the past 20 years.
All right, guys, welcome back. I gotta probably get this off the screen. That's probably a good way to start. Welcome back to Total Disclosure, everybody. My name is Tyler. I am the host and creator. As I said earlier, today we have a great show for you. TOK is joining us. She's a MUFON field investigator. She is an experiencer herself. She is an author. She does the UFO lecture circuit. So she goes around and speaks with MUFON at these really great and large conferences that are held every year. And she's just a tremendous guest. So we want to welcome TOK to the show. Welcome to Total Disclosure. I'm super happy to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And of course, I think what would be best is to get to know you as a person and how you got into this field, how you became TOK, the UFO investigator, TOK, the UFO this, TOK that, So let's maybe run down the early story. How did you get to where you are now? And what got you interested in the subject that's kind of obscure?
I was never interested in the subject until 2017. When I moved here, excuse me, to the Inner Banks of North Carolina, I moved here from Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. And up until that point, I had been an experiencer since childhood. My first earliest memories, conscious memories, are from the age 10. And I came in contact with a variety of beings up till 2017. And I was a different person back then because I thought everyone was victimizing me. I thought I was the victim in every situation. So I assumed that the Greys were victimizing me too. And so I moved here in 2017, and it was my second morning here, and I found a red X mark, looked like it was burned into my tush. And then 9 days later, there was another one on the other cheek, exactly like the first one. And that was accompanied by this conscious memory of feeling like I was paralyzed on a bed in this room. I didn't know where I was. And I was on my side. And I could move my neck. And when I turned around, there was a gray right here. And we made eye contact, and we just stared into each other's eyes. And I was scared to death. And it was that made me finally admit that I need help and that I can't hide this anymore, because hiding it negatively, adversely affected my life, as it does, because when you hide a big truth about yourself, you're not your real self, you're not your authentic self, and then nothing feels right.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say, for so long, um, you don't have to say your age, but what percentage of your life 99, 98%?
So my percentage of my life that I hid this,
Yeah, what, 98,
so
90?
I hid it from 10 to 55.
Yeah, so that's a lot.
My whole
Good.
life.
Basically, your whole life you've been putting on a persona for people that maybe didn't really know what was going on the inside. And I can't. Every time I talk to an experiencer, I can't really. I can't get in your shoes. I can't get in. And that's why I try to do this as much as I can. But can you tell me more about what it's like to be inside? Is there any smells? What When you made contact with this being, what was what was coming? What are the senses that you're feeling in these abduction moments and experiences that you can recall?
Well, I've had several, and they're all a little different. I've had contact with the Greys, including the one I just told you about in 2017. And also, I had made contact with the Greys when I did the spur of the moment trip to Roswell, New Mexico with my ex partner. When I was a little girl, I came in contact with a completely different being. One time when I was sitting in my living room, just a couple years ago, these blue light beings showed up. So I have a variety of different experiences. I also have conscious memories of MILAB, military abductions, and those are very different. Those are not nice. They're either neutral or they're not. They're bad. And they're actually more difficult for me to talk about than my ET contact. Like when I talking about it now, I can feel my stomach tightening.
Right. And it's ironic, or I guess in the community, we would call it a synchronicity, is, and I guess maybe I should ask you, how does this mic sound? Is everything on and okay? Let me get that out. Yeah, if anyone watched our episode with Melinda Leslie,
Oh, I know
she,
Melinda.
yeah, she was having internet issues. So I was focusing on trying to help her, and I didn't go through my pre-checklist, and my microphone was off. So the only thing that was picking up my audio was the camera, and the episode sound from my perspective, oh my God, it sounded terrible.
Oh,
So, but she brought up, of course, her abduction
oh,
experiences and how they were followed by my lab. And it seems there's a connection there. So there's definitely a targeting of
yeah.
extraterrestrial abductees with
Yes.
these my lab experiences. And
Yeah.
again, like you said, they tend to be overtly negative or maybe somewhat neutral, but never
Mhm.
friendly. And
No.
but the ET ones, there is some sort of compassion in some weird way.
Yes. Yeah, with the ET ones, often information is telepathically exchanged, and often it's beautiful information, helpful information. So I'm an experiencer advocate, and I help experiencers around the world. And after interviewing and speaking with thousands of experiencers, I've discovered that there's 5 basic topics of information that the ETs are imparting on us to help us to benefit us.
Okay.
Uh, so you don't get that in a MILAB, because in a MILAB, it's a debriefing. And I had this one situation, and this is not uncommon, when they wanted me to do something. I do not remember what it was, but it was psychic in nature, because our government and other governments are engaged in psychic warfare and have been for a while. And so they wanted me to do something psychic in nature, and I refused because I knew it was bad. I knew it was nefarious. I knew the reasons were not positive.
Right.
And because I refused, I was tortured. And it's really, I can't even talk about what they did because it's still hard.
Capital T torture. That's okay. You don't.
Torture. It was a mental torture. It was absolutely horrible. I'd never been tortured mentally like that in my life.
Yeah, and for anyone who's listening or watching, I mean, when you imagine someone was able to pierce the veil of your consciousness. Now that little voice in your head, that you have that you have. Picture someone being able to override that and just basically tune you into, I don't know, some really annoying song over and over and over and over again. Like that. So that is the stuff that we know that projects like MK Ultra were looking and seeking to be able to do. So
Yeah.
there's a heavy precedent for it. And and I think, with everything that's going on right now politically with UFOs and their occupants, talk of a partnership, in your experiences, have you ever come across any information that there may be a partnership happening?
Well, there is a partnership when it comes to the hybridization program, because I've been given information about that too. And I was actually, I think it was in 2012. This is my book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. And I had drawings in it. This is the being that was standing behind me. And when we locked eyes,
Hold on, let me put you at full screen there.
and I describe it like it was like looking into two pools of black oil. And when we looked at each other, these little ridges right here were like little wrinkles. And
Okay.
there was no telepathic
That's
communication.
so that's not a headband, like a fashion statement. I'm, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
What was scariest was that there was no exchange of communication, because there's always communication in my instances, always. And the fact that when we locked eyes and there was nothing, that made it creepy, and that made it even scarier. And then I popped back in my bedroom, and I had already had the first X appear. Here's the X, by the way. That's the X.
That's an actual picture.
That's the picture that was on my left cheek of my tush.
Oh my God. It looks like
I'm in a Canadian docuseries, and I actually have a butt double.
oh my God.
I know, I hear that's a big thing.
It's an awkward experience, but that's okay. I trust me, I get it. Before I did this show, and it's funny, I do have I have something to tell you when it's appropriate. But so this bedroom is actually where the room I'm in now is where my mother passed away, and it's also where she slept for her her adult life. This is her room, and she's the reason I do this show. She's the reason I left Hollywood. So butt doubles, hand doubles, they literally they'll do doubles for everything, because they want. Hollywood is fake. It's perfection. It's fake perfection, and it's a toxic environment. In my experiences, that's why I left it. But it's funny that you say a butt double.
Yeah. Actually, there's a brand new organization in town. It's called the
Hollywood
Disclosure Alliance, which I'm a founding member of.
Yeah, so that's what Steve Bassett, Dan Herrera founded it. I'm such an advocate, and I'm actually, so Steve will be on the show in a couple days as we're recording this. So Steve's actually a really good friend. So is Daniel, and I'm very much for what they are doing, because if we can get to talking to directors on directors that aren't just doing projects like small sci-fi projects, but these really big budget studio films, and get some of the real experiences and real life culture of the phenomenon in there, and I mean that could be a huge asset.
Well, the truth would be a huge asset.
Yeah, again.
Yeah. What we want to do, because it's filled with Hollywood executives and with ufologists and experiencers. And so together we want to help Hollywood tell the truth and not make it such a scary, fear-based
exactly
story.
Right, because everyone, I mean, people think your average Joe, if you say aliens, they think Independence Day, but it's just, and Alien and Alien, that series with Ridley Scott. That's really the foundation. But Star Trek, laid a pretty good example of what I think should be the model, and probably is most close to the truth. But that's beside the point. I agree, though.
Well, Star Wars might be close to the truth too.
That's a scary thought.
Well, not all aspects of it.
Yeah. Don't tell
Yeah.
me Darth Vader's running around the universe somewhere.
No, I'm not talking about that.
A
I'm
dark
talking
star
about
appears.
technology and things like that. That's what I'm referring to.
So the ability, what you're talking about, like, so the ability to traverse the cosmos in, like be able to create wormholes, that kind of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They're doing that. And many experiences are going through those time warps. Did you know that I have a planet in a star system named after me in the Star Wars galactic system?
no, I don't.
Yeah, there's a planet in star system TOK.
Oh, really?
I'm even on Wikipedia. Yeah, it was named after me because several years ago, my best friend was dating a writer, and he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars. And he said he liked my name, TOK. I like your name. And he said, I'm going to name a planet after you in my story. And I thought he was kidding, but the story came out, and there it was.
That's canon. That's
And in
canon.
fact, it was just mentioned. If anyone watches Star Wars Andor, my name was mentioned.
No.
So I joke around, who owns my name, me or Disney? I don't know anymore.
I am pretty sure you would have a hard fight that Disney owns the right to your name.
Ask.
Hopefully he wrote it in a different way, like together rather than I don't know. But yeah, no, you might not even have the rights to your name, honey. That's how Hollywood is. they would really fight you on that. You are a universe. You're a planet in a distant galaxy in Star Wars. That's amazing.
It is amazing. He gifted me eternity. I mean, that's a great gift.
That's so cool. Oh my God! I don't think anyone else. Wow, that you just hit me with like one of the coolest facts that I've probably ever gotten. So, all right. The Schumer amendment. Have you been paying attention to what's been going on in the?
Yes.
Okay, so the Schumer amendment has essentially fallen apart. Of course, there was even a clip today of Schumer talking about it. He even gave nod to the late Senator Harry Reid as inspiration for this, and who is very interested in this topic. And in 2017, this article came out. Glowing ores, black money, and really shed light on this program. Did that help you come out as well in that year? Because of course that was a big year for the topic, a watershed moment, if you will, the aha moment for most of us. So did that garner your coming forward or play a factor?
No, absolutely not. What made me come forward was I had an existential crisis with the second X. It was serious.
Wow.
Because when I saw the second X, I was trying to prepare myself for it because I had a feeling when I came to in my bedroom and I had this download of a memory of being paralyzed on that bed with a grave behind me, I had a feeling I had another X on me. And I didn't think I was going to be able to handle it. I thought it would push me off the cliff. So when I asked him to look and there was another X, I had an existential crisis. It's really hard to describe what it feels like because at that moment I realized everything that's been happening to me was not a dream. I thought maybe it was, but it's not. And that's why I'm here to say dreams don't leave X's on your tush. So a lot of people are making contact, but they think they're dreams and they're not. So the existential crisis, who am I? Like, who are we? What am I doing in the middle of the night talking to aliens? Why are they messing with me? Because back then I thought the Greys were messing with me, but I see now that they were helping me. And I was so confused like I had to redefine myself. I had to redefine us as human beings. I didn't know anything anymore. Like I was starting from scratch. And so that's when I declared I needed help, but I didn't know who was going to help me because up until that moment, I stayed clear of anything that had to do with UFOs or ETs. You know, Whitley's book, Communion?
Communion, yeah.
I looked at it once and turned it upside down. But now I can look at it, and that's how I know I've healed because I can
That
look at Whitley's book.
right, because the front cover is, I mean,
If you're an experiencer and you haven't processed it, it triggers you.
yeah, there's you'd be surprised actually. I listen to a lot of podcasts, UFO podcasts, and almost every single person who's was a, had an abduction experience and then, you know, saw Whitley's book, they like either dropped it or, you know, it froze them.
Yeah.
It did something like because
Yeah.
it brought to the forefront, and that's what's the so people don't understand the classic archetype of the classic gray alien. So we could there's plenty of people that argue, well, that's from a movie. That's movie based. Well, no, actually, it's not. The people that use that archetype got it from the Project Blue Book files, i.e., Steven Spielberg. So art imitated life. So yeah, you know, the chicken and the egg kind of scenario. So people often think that the archetype originated from cinema, but no, it's the archetype that influenced cinema. And
Grays have been around for a while.
yeah, I mean, Betty and Barney Hill described them. You know, Kathleen Martin is a friend of the show.
My
Uh,
friends.
yeah, you know, she's a wonderful source of knowledge. I mean, for this stuff, and you had physical evidence left on you.
Yeah.
I just want to ask. Um, you said you said you snapped back into your body, and once you made eye contact. I've been running around this theory in my head that what if abductions are not physical always in nature, but so they maybe they take the astral form of you out,
Yeah.
and that's what they abduct. So you're on the ship. I mean, you yourself, you're on the ship. You're able to have memories on the ship, but then you snap back into your body, but a little mark is left behind. Almost as if to like it's a remnant, byproduct of the situation. Uh, uh,
Mhm. I agree with you. I think it's both. I think there's 3D physical contact, but most contact is happening in what I call the playground of consciousness. Once
mm,
you enter the playground of consciousness, where all beings are connected, you're in contact with all beings, whether it's a spirit guide, whether it's a dead person, or whether it's an ET. And that's why often people who are experiencers do have supernatural experiences because they're on that playground of consciousness, making contact with all the beings that are.
right, and then I mean, you could also say about like, for instance, when someone has a near-death experience and you know they see a loved one or a light being, or some people even talk about seeing the grays and other beings. You know, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that there is this conscious playground. I love the way you just put that, so I'm going to steal that.
Okay.
That's I just created a marker. 2403. I just stole that from SEV. How do you, but by the way, so are you Canadian and what is your background heritage?
I was born in Istanbul. My
Okay.
entire family is Turkish. And my parents
Whoa.
and I emigrated from Istanbul to Montreal, Canada, where my sister was born. And then we emigrated into the DC suburbs when I was a little girl. And I started first grade not knowing English.
Oh, that's, you know, I mean, for anyone who doesn't, so the connection to Turkey, right?
Yeah.
Um, Turkey's got such a good, rich history. I mean, with the things that they're finding out there, that predate any known. I mean, there are underground cities in Turkey that they are finding. That make Göbekli Tepe look like child's play. So that's it. I only ask this because are do you know anyone else in your family that has potentially had these experiences? Because it seems to be a generational thing.
Yes. My parents were very intuitive and plugged in and psychic. The same thing with my sister. I was told, however, by the ETs that they contacted my sister and she was too scared. They contacted my mother and she was too scared. They contacted my dad and he was interested, but it's interesting because
Whoa. I like this. This is fun.
My father, he passed away 6 years ago, and my mother gave me a notebook of his where he wrote down many of his supernatural experiences. And I had never even known about the existence of this book. And so this is like a gift to me. And
it's like a holy grail.
now that I'm reading them, it could be that he was seeing ET visits as angelic visits or supernatural visits. Maybe he wasn't seeing them as ETs.
Right. Huh. And then there's always that side of it that people and we've talked about this many times on this show that what if the name is just changed along the way, and for different people it can mean different things, right? Yeah. So where someone would say divine intervention, or a being, an angel came down to me, could be mistaken technology or extraterrestrial technology, and it could just, the name changes. Fairy, angel, ET, it's all the same phenomena.
I do believe that there are differences, but when they're
all in the same localized phenomena. They have an ability to transcend what we would see as physical reality, if you will.
Right.
Masters of reality, of the physical world. And I think even Michio Kaku has said that that's at that point you maybe even considered a god, because if you have full mastery over your physical nature, I mean, you might as well be God at that point. And to anyone under you, you would look like a god. So I would, that book, that's very interesting. That you found that, and I'm sure it's something that you have talked about. But are there any stories that stick out to you in particular
about
your father's experiences and yours being similar?
Well, we both channeled scientific equations and scientific information, which I did not know until he passed away. We both also downloaded or channeled very spiritual information, stuff that I knew was not coming from me because I had no idea what I was writing. And also it was coming out in sentence structures that I don't write and I don't speak, using words that I don't use. And it would come out perfect, like just pages and pages, and there would barely be any mistake in them. And I don't write like that. When I write, there's like lots of scratching out and a lot of mistakes and a lot of errors. And that's how I knew I was writing something that is outside of my consciousness of what I perceive SEV is.
Right. So it was almost like you were pulling from what we would call like the oneness, the ether. You're pulling this from the ether. So I mean, it's perfect because it isn't you. You're just channeling it.
Well, it could be me. It could be my higher self. It could be another being with a body. It could be just a collective consciousness. You don't always know. Sometimes you do, but not always.
And that's so when you're having this one of these experiences, and maybe you can fill me in on this. not in my lab, but like an actual, your ET contact. You know, how much of it do you think that they allow you to remember portions of it to a degree for, in a teaching way? Are they if you could sum the experiences you have up as a lesson, what do you think? Because you talked about a couple things, 5 or 7 things that they're imparting on us. Maybe you could run through some of what those are, because I think at a time when the world is so divided, maybe we do need someone to step in and say, hey, it's time to end this, because you're gonna implode if you keep on the path you're on.
Oh, and really, that's why everything seems like it's falling apart, because we're purging. And so we could actually see this transformative time on our earth as we're going to hell, or this is the beginning of something good. Which way
Right.
are we going to go? And because I was told, the Greys told me when they were giving me information about the hybridization program, they told me that the embryos, the billions of embryos that they've created, are being harvested and are being kept in case we annihilate ourselves, and they're going to be used to reseed this planet. And they said, we're on the path of annihilation, but it's not too late. We can turn around, but we're on it. But we're not fatally destined for it yet.
That would, when you look at it through that lens, that would explain why the hybridization program isn't, people don't seem like it's, when they talk about their fetuses being stolen and then maybe meeting them later in life in some form or fashion, it's almost like this that would be, if that's really, if that's accurate, that is a grave warning that we need to
and that's what they're doing. I mean, they're giving us grave warnings in a variety of ways. I have a picture here of my experience of when they show me a baby in a tube. Here it is. There we go. The baby in a tube. And that's me standing in front of this tube. This was, I think, in 2012. And there were 3 Greys behind me. And this is before I knew that Greys come in different sizes. They come tall, medium, and short. And they telepathically, they were nice. They telepathically said, we're just going to stand back here while you take your time and don't be in a hurry. And so I turn back around and I look at this baby floating in this tube with this bluish water. The room is dark and the baby's eyes are open, and they're the bluest eyes I've ever seen in my life. And I knew the baby was a boy, even though his legs were positioned so that I really couldn't see. And I had no idea why I was looking at this baby. I didn't feel anything for it. And so fast forward maybe 4 years, and then I'm in Roswell, and my ex and I have this experience, and I'm given more information about the hybridization program, and I'm reminded of that incident. And in one of my MILAB experiences, I was asked to heal hybrid babies. That felt like a MILAB experience. So what are MILABs doing with hybrid sick babies? Like, something more is going on, from my experience, than just humans and Greys. There's something else going on too. There's some other body that I think is trying to make hybrid beings and is not doing a good job. And so they asked me to heal them. And they weren't human babies.
Huh.
Now, were those my babies? I don't know. So I've come in contact with 3 hybrid babies. I can't say they're mine. No one ever told me they are yours. And it could be, going back to your question about remembering and getting information about your experiences. I believe that everything has an energy to it, including a memory, including a thought, everything. And I think that when my frequency matches the frequency of that memory or the frequency of the information, it's like an aha moment. Like, I align with it and I can know it and I can accept it. That's what we call aha moments. This is what because everything is inside of us. It's just that all of a sudden we resonate with the knowing, and it feels like all of a sudden we know it. It's only because we've consciously focused on it. So it could very well be that there is more to my hybrid experiences, but maybe I'm still a little freaked out about it. Maybe I'm not ready to know more. Maybe I can't accept that I have hybrid children. I don't know. I'm still processing that.
Right. That and yeah, that I mean that is going to be a journey that you take. You know, that if it now
However, oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say one thing.
Go
I
ahead.
have spoken with experiencers who've had wonderful, beautiful experiences with their hybrid children. So it's not always sad and scary and victimizing.
Yeah. Forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but the lady who worked on Baywatch, I can't remember her name, Kimberly something. I believe she was shown her hybrid children, and she felt a connection to them, and it was a very like emotional experience, and that's how I've heard it described many times. And it's also like, you know, it's like a closure in some way, because you know, I can only assume from a mother's perspective, you know, to think you're pregnant, to know you're pregnant, right? And then all of a sudden not be, and then people are telling you you're crazy, and that you know, you tricked yourself into a false pregnancy, which is apparently a medical term for a literal tricking of the body into being pregnant, which it's a phenomenon they still can't explain, and for obvious reasons. Now, is it a byproduct of these MyLabs? Is it a byproduct of these ET contacts experiences? That would make a lot of sense when you start looking at it through these perspectives, and with these glasses on, it starts making a lot more sense.
What does?
And just the whole picture that the government is most likely working alongside these groups, but they're also probably double crossing them at the same time.
Yeah, like we always do. And it seems like every time there's a human involved in my experience, it's a crappy experience.
Yeah, we tend to double cross, right? We tend to seek and gain, or tend to do what the greedy thing, right? Just,
well,
you know,
double. Really, what they've done is horrific, because they've double crossed the American public by hiding the truth and making many of us. There are experiencers that have killed themselves.
Yes, taking their own lives.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, this is
or still live out there in a paralyzed, you know, we talk about being paralyzed and in fear, and people, there are people out there right now still in the closet with abduction experiences who will never ever come out and say anything because they are way too afraid.
And that's okay. But what I say is, please come out to yourself, because if you don't come out to yourself, that lie infiltrates every arena of your life. You can't escape it. You can't compartmentalize and say, all right, I had an experience with this being that's not human, and then I'm going to try and live the rest of my life okay. No, you can't. You have to incorporate it.
Yeah, and honestly, someone said something to me one time that I thought was crazy at the time, but the more time goes on, and the more stuff that happens, the more I'm like, huh. It's after disclosure, right? When we're told the real truth, you know, whatever whatever version of the truth that the government tells us, if they ever tell us, there would most likely end up being like AA groups meant for abductees. Abductees would start forming these like anonymous groups to go talk to each other.
Have you seen the TV show People of Earth?
Yes, it's like that. Yeah, exactly.
I love that show. It was only on 2 seasons. That show actually is a part of my Roswell story. That plays a part in my Roswell story, that show. Yeah.
Interesting.
Really like
but
that
yeah.
show.
But
it was produced by Conan O'Brien. But there are experiencer support groups. I co-host one. We have them.
And so that would become more mainstream, and and people would have more access to it. And it's like,
What would you
and
call it
we see
instead of AA? What would you call it?
well, it depends
Alien
on,
Anonymous would be AA.
yeah, but because whatever, I think the general public will end up having a term for the others. I think hear me. I think we'll end up calling whoever the others at first. So it'll be the others anonymous, because we're going to think about how we already factionalize
Okay.
ourselves, right? So I think from the jump, from day one after disclosure, there'll be an others vibe, and then hopefully, we as a species will start to grow and realize, our place in the cosmic scale is unique. It's still something to be proud of. Just because we're not top of the food chain doesn't make our experience less unique. It actually makes it more unique, in my opinion. So the experiences that you've gone through, though, I don't see them as bad. I mean, some of them, the MyLab ones, of course are bad, but for us who haven't been through these experiences, you're doing something very brave by telling telling us your story.
Thank you.
So
I never knew that would come out. Like when the X's appeared, I had no intention of coming out at all. I didn't want my clients to know that I talked to aliens. Like, this was a deep, dark secret. And then I talked to Kathy, who really helped me, Kathleen Martin. And when I talked to her, I said, what am I supposed to do with all this information that they've given me? Because I actually see myself in my mind's eye talking about it on stage. And at that time, that was an insane vision. And she said, I can't tell you what to do with it. You have to figure that out. And then it was about 2 or 3 months later, I woke up and I declared I'm writing a book, and I'm going to call it You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. But when I went to sleep that night, I had no intention of writing a book. None. I woke up and there it is. So I don't know what happened that night.
It was I think for you, it was, you spoke about your aha moment, right? That was your aha moment in the grand scheme. It was your way to cement your legacy into the annals of history as we know it. So I think what you did was the right thing.
Okay, thank
And
you.
well, Kathleen, and I'm sure it was so. Are you a product of the ERT?
I am in the ERT. I'm in the executive committee of the Experience Resource Team, which is MUFON's select group of people. There's only about 50, 60 of us around the world. And we deal with cases that only deal with direct ET contact.
Yeah, Earl Anderson's a great friend of mine. Kathleen's a great friend.
Kathy started the ERT.
Yeah, she's the founder of founder of, because I think for a long time, even MUFON had a problem. They were drawing the line at that. They were drawing a line in the sand, and it didn't feel so inclusive to abductees. And this is another side of your experience that I want to talk about, is your MUFON field investigation. So you took your own experiences, you're using them now as a way to help others and also investigate cases to some form or degree. Now, can you talk to us about some of the cases that you've investigated, and anything that is noteworthy in your
Yes. So I help experiencers not only through MUFON, but also personally. If you go to my website, planetsev.com, you can go to Tell Me Your ET Story. Just fill out a couple questions and tell me your experience, and I'll respond. Or you can go through MUFON. Can you tell me the question again?
Oh my God! Wait, did I just forget it?
You want me to give you some stories? Okay, I can give you
your MUFON work.
MUFON or non-MUFON, because in my talks in conferences, I love to talk about experiencer stories, and I love to share the experiencers' actual drawings and paintings and pictures. And many experiencers become very artistic afterwards. It's not unusual.
Very.
And they also become vegetarians. That's not unusual. All of a sudden, they feel much more empathetic and sympathetic towards all living beings. There is one case, excuse me, of a gentleman who was a hunter, and the ET said, "What are you doing?" And he never hunted again because they made him realize life is precious. So what are you doing taking it away? Life is precious, just for enjoyment, for sport. And so these are beautiful messages. I don't want to upset any hunters. I'm just telling you the stories that are being told. These are true accounts because these ETs are helping us remember that we're all connected and we're all one. They're helping us remember that because we've forgotten that. And that's why we're so vicious towards each other, because we don't realize that we're connected. And so they're giving us information about spirituality and personal empowerment. The ETs are giving us information regarding scientific innovation. They give us information about the hybridization program. They give us information about humanity's potential fate. And they give us information on how to strengthen our psychic abilities too.
Now, do you think, or do you know, if they have been here longer than longer than us? Do you think that this presence? Do you think that maybe part of the secrecy is that the government found out that we are engineered species, and they don't think that we could come to terms with, confronting our creator. And do you think that that could be potential of why there's been, almost resettings of civilizations over the course of history as we know it?
Well, I'm not sure about why there are resettings of ancient civilizations, but as to why the government isn't revealing the truth, I think religion just is really a small part of it. The main part of it is money and control. That's all Americans care about. It's
Yeah.
what our government cares about, is just money and control. And so this information that, like the scientific innovation, we have saucers and we're reverse engineering them. I mean, this isn't crazy talk anymore. And so who's
No, it's
benefiting
not.
from this? Who's benefiting from this science? Particular research organizations, particular huge conglomerates, aerospace tech. They're making a lot of money off of it. And they know the truth, and they're lying to us to sell us more iPads.
And that is why they reached through the veil of democracy, and they stripped the Schumer Amendment from what it was to what it became. And what it became was a former shell of itself, and it basically continues for at least another year the people who have enacted the secrecy on us to continue to dictate whether those secrets come out or not. So again,
well, I differ with you a little bit in that I am to the point now where I hold the people responsible for how fast we're going to know the truth. I'm not even putting the onus on the government anymore. I'm like, we have to get more interested. Believe it or not, there's still a lot of people who aren't interested, who don't believe. And it's in the news, but there's still a lot of people who are turning their heads away from it. They can't take it. They just can't accept it. We're still there. And so until we cross that threshold of non-belief, we're always going to be like in this tug of war. Well, give me more information. Give me more information, government. But I don't want to ask the government for information anymore. I just want us as human beings to do our personal work so that we can finally know the truth. And many of us are not doing our personal spiritual work. That's obvious. Why would the aliens land when, look what we're doing? Look what we're doing. Why would they land?
It's as when Tim Burchett came on the show, Congressman Tim Burchett, he said that the reason they haven't landed in Washington D.C. is because there's no signs of intelligent life there. And that was, I thought, I could not stop laughing about that. But
Well, there's no signs of kind life. Kind.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
not kind.
Yeah, exactly. I just, for people like you, it's you already kind of, you don't really need the government to disclose that information, because you have a confirmation that maybe I don't. You have been able to look this phenomena in the eyes, literally. So some of us, we're going off of experiences like yours, notions, because I have seen craft, but no beings. And, I know that they're piloted. It's just, and I know we're not alone. And I am deducing my own, conclusions from the experiences like yours that I hear. I truly, there's something going on this planet, and it's otherworldly in nature. Do you think that ancient cultures talked about it. Do you think that there are multiple species that maybe don't have the same vision for humanity?
Are you talking about like evil beings that want to destroy us?
Maybe not evil, but because we could see, the boot that steps on the ant by accident, right, shows no remorse. It was in my path. And so indifference can be seen as neglect or negative, but so maybe they're indifferent.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. And that's an excellent point, which is what I felt when I looked at that gray and there was nothing coming. So I felt indifferent, and that was really scary, because as human beings, that indifference, we label that as scary.
Right.
It could very well be that there are a variety of beings that are off planet and on planet. And if you listen to David Grush in the congressional hearings, they asked him why he calls the beings not NHAs, non-human intelligence, instead of ETs. And he says, because it's very possible that these beings live on Earth in another dimension. They're not really off Earth. They're on Earth, but we can't see them because they're in other dimensions on Earth.
Which is,
so it could be both. It could be that, and it could literally be beings from another planet or star system or galaxy.
Right. And I think that's a fascinating notion in itself, to think that not only could civilizations be contacting us from our own known galaxy, but from other dimensions. That adds it adds layers to the onion that we didn't even think were truly, it's science fiction talk, right? That's borderline science fiction. And if a lot of people, when they see UFOs, they see them kind of phase out of reality. Well, that would make a lot of sense then, if that's what they were doing, is they're literally leaving this reality. They're jumping into the ether and then into another dimension. Well, that would make sense. And
it would make sense.
It would make total sense. And do you think that you potentially been in another dimension? Your
we all are, because we exist more than this, and there's aspects to us that are existing in the other dimensions as we talk. There are parts of you in the other dimensions.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I don't quite.
Well, we're more than just this. We're energy, and the energy just keeps going and going and going and going. There's no end. And so you exist, we're fractals, we exist eternally. And so we just keep existing through all the dimensions and all that there is. And so this is right here, this SEV is just a mere sliver of all that I am. And so there are aspects of me that exist in the other dimensions. For instance, when you meditate or when you do astral travel, you go places, you meet beings. That's not you sitting on the couch. That's an aspect of you that exists in the other dimensions. having an experience that you can focus on and consciously be aware of. Everyone can do that with practice.
Very much. And that's, I did this. So yesterday I got to do a sound bath.
Oh,
I
I
don't know.
love that.
Yeah, I don't know if
I
I
love.
have never experienced something like that before. And it was, I mean, I went somewhere like,
Yes.
and even the proctor, like the person doing it, I was the only one in the room, right? It was a private. When
Wow.
when I came out of she said I like rose up like I was jolting back into my body, and she could tell that I was under super deeply because of how just still my hands and feet were, but she could see that my eyes were moving at like 1,000 miles per second under the eyelids being shut. She could see that they were moving, and she knew that I had got. So she literally she made me take steps like breath work to get to a standing position, because she's like, I haven't seen someone really go under like that in a long time. And I was, I've been practicing meditation. I've been doing it a lot frequently. And I think the vibrations and the frequencies, and I think it just allowed me to finally tune in, because that was the first time an meditative experience brought me to somewhere drugs have brought me before.
Yeah, that's great.
Like,
Great, and you can do that on your own.
And that was like, I woke up with a clogged nose. I couldn't speak right. It was a very weird experience. And I highly recommend it. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. And
Yes, it
yeah,
is.
I do you think that you talked about psychic abilities? Do you think that we all are innately born with these abilities to remote view and
Oh, yeah.
other capabilities, just that they need to be unlocked?
Well, we just have to. I teach people how to strengthen their psychic abilities. And the first thing is just admitting that you have them. Some people don't even know that they have them. And then the second step is determination to practice. That's really all it is. Because those are our multidimensional sensors, interdimensional sensors that are working. And if we can use them, we get wonderful advice from the dimensions, particular to us, better than any therapist you can go to, that really helps you guide you as you maneuver through the human experience, which is not easy.
Right. And many and people may act like that sounds crazy, but I mean, some of the greatest minds in all of human history, the Nikola Teslas, the Einsteins, the Da Vinci's, they all have said that they were channeling something else, that the information wasn't necessarily theirs, but it was given to them in a way.
Yes, actually, when these two light beings came into my living room one afternoon when I was wide awake, and they sat down, and they were gorgeous. They were
I'm sorry,
blue.
a light being sat down?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I don't know, but they were like on the couch, and they're like 6 feet tall, but they looked like they were sitting down because I was sitting on the couch. So I guess they figured, let's just position ourselves across from her.
Okay.
And
so
that's like maybe they just shortened themselves, but they were on the couch.
Hold on. I sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. That I sounded rude there. So what do these things look like? They're light. Are they sticks of light? Do they have form in any sense? Or is it just a ball?
I actually put together a graphic to try and explain the best. what I could, but I don't have it. They're light beings, and so I couldn't draw them if I wanted to, really, because they're constantly undulating, and they were made up of these ribbons of kaleidoscope light. They were gorgeous. That was constantly moving, and it was blues and silvers, and every now and then there'd be like this flash of spring green right here. And so I couldn't believe my eyes, and I'm blinking my eyes, and I actually took a picture. They did not come out in the picture. I have the picture. And then they poured onto me this intense feeling of love, unlike anything I've ever felt in my life. And I describe it as more intense than the love your mother gives you. If try and imagine that.
Right.
And then the first thing they said to me was, when you look into our eyes, you look into yours. And that's how the conversation started. Then they gave me a lot of information, and I took notes. I have the notes as they were talking to me. And one of the things they told me about was Tesla and Disney and Tchaikovsky. And they said that these three men were connected, and they were indeed channeling, and that Disney and Tesla met, and that when you listen to Tchaikovsky music, and these three men happen to be my most favorite men since I was a little girl, and I love Tchaikovsky. And they said, when you listen to Tchaikovsky music, that's an activator, like a DNA activator, a purpose activator. And so it's not by accident that one of Disney's most famous movies, Fantasia, is filled with Tchaikovsky music, because Disney knew. And Fantasia is not a cartoon, it's an activator.
That's very interesting. So that is, I mean,
which is my favorite Disney cartoon when I was little. I still love it. It's not a cartoon though.
There's, I mean, there's other, to the flip side, let's go to the alternate side, right? Because then you have people like Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard and them, and they're channeling, but they're channeling something that's dark. It's like, the rituals were.
It's all your perspective, because information comes in a variety of different frequencies. There's low vibe info, which we would call dark info, and high vibe info, which we may call spiritual information, or
right. Well, now if you step back with me for a second and look in on what we just talked about. You talked about the light beings looking into their eyes, feeling more love than even your mother could give. That's straight out of the Bible, right? Angel talk.
Yeah.
And then Aleister Crowley, L. Ron Hubbard, what they're doing is straight demon talk, right? Yeah. The rituals they were performing.
Yeah.
So again, you have to ask yourself the question. Hate to sound like I'm working on Ancient Aliens. You got to ask yourself, are we talking about the same thing? Angels and demons, extraterrestrials and non-human intelligence. I just, there's got to be a connection in my mind. There's got to be. It's too close. And I think these ancient texts weren't just stories. And I think scientists, we need to, not we, because I'm not a scientist, but I think science needs to get a little bit more on board with taking theologists more seriously, and theologists need to work with scientists more seriously. And I think together, that's a singularity, the aha moment that the whole world has.
Yeah, but we have problems with our researchers and scientists in America, in that once they have a theory, they hate to disprove it, even if it's obviously wrong. Right. There's some ego in our scientific and research community here in the United States that really sets us back. It's a shame.
It's very, very, very blatant that there is, it's like a clique. And they're all they're all fighting about papers that get read by like 7 people. And most of them are their class, their students and their family. And it's like, I don't get the clique nature of the academia, because there's like, even NASA talked about it, right? In their
they did.
in their press conference
They
how
did.
it wasn't the UFO community that was giving them crap. It was other scientists
Yeah.
that were harassing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's just that's disgraceful, and that's a problem from look at it like a pyramid. That's a problem at the top that is going to capsize. That's the problem that's gonna trickle down. Is if our
Yeah, we
scientists,
see this as the dark ages when we were completely unknowing. We did not know the truth. One day when we know the truth that we're part of a galactic community, and actually right now we're the troublemakers in our galactic community. That's why they're coming and trying to help us. And it's easier really to change a collective through each individual. As each individual changes, then the collective changes. That's why there are
why
millions of people having ET contact.
why don't you think that if they have the ability to do the things that they do, why not why not make like everyone goes to bed tonight, whatever tonight is, in Australia, obviously there's time zones and stuff, but everyone goes to bed and they all have the same dream. Why not do something like that like, or why not be abducting presidents and being like, hey, we need to have a talk.
There are many presidents who have seen UFOs. Many.
Seen.
Yes. And maybe
Seen.
been abducted and not admitting it. We don't know.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. You got me there. You got me. Sev, you got me there. You know what? I will admit that you got me
You
there.
know, it's was it Japan's prime minister's wife?
Well,
Japan? What in Asia there is a high level official whose wife claims that she was on board.
oh no, get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm talking about. With like these people that have everything to lose, when they start speaking up,
Yeah.
that's when people pay attention. And
Well, even people who aren't famous have everything to lose.
I understand that, but hopefully you understand. That was a no derogatory.
The
Yeah,
prestige and the respect and the notoriety. Yeah,
yeah,
that can all go right out the window if that's important to you.
right. And so, like, if say tomorrow, like Miley Cyrus was like, or Kim Kardashian was like, I was abducted, there would be an uproar. There would be an uproar. Of people calling her crazy, but then like a bunch of people that would be like, wait a second, this is real, all because it's Kim Kardashian and not
That's
Sev
right.
Talk, and
That's
that's
right.
sad. It's
Yeah.
sad.
Well, it's okay.
It's funny. It's funny because it's so I forget what show it was, a podcast, but they were saying like if a UFO landed on like the 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 highway in California. I can't remember what the name of it is. The five. The
Coastal one.
yeah. If it landed on the five, the helicopters, they'd show up and then they'd get a couple shots, and then an hour after that they'd UFO lands, blocks highway, traffic backed up, civilians enraged. Next up, Kim Kardashian wears Prada to insert event here. So like that's how it would, like, I'm afraid that that's really a thing that would happen, is that we would just be like, okay, cool.
Well, that's how I feel like we are right now, because there's so much proof and evidence out there, yet people just don't want to go there. Like the things that David Grush said, but really, when I talk to people out in the society, no one's really like even talking about it. I'm like, how could you not talk about what that man just said?
Well, I am doing a video. It's funny that you bring that up. I'm doing a video where I go to Boston. I live in I live in Boston. So I'm in the city, and I went downtown, and it's holiday season, so there's a lot of people downtown shopping. And I did like the YouTuber thing, and I polled people. Like I literally, I'm pulling people aside and asking, do they know who David Grush is? Do they know what he's saying? Do they know what's happening in government? And that UFOs are not only in the docket, but non-human intelligence was mentioned 21 times in an amendment in our National Defense Authorization Act of fiscal year 2024. Like questions like that. And I am sad to report this in advance. 95% of people don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
Nope. But they do know what cologne they're going to get in Macy's.
Yeah. This is going to be slow. This is
Yeah.
going to be slow because the fear is so prevalent on our planet. It's really probably the most prevalent energy that there is. And as long as that exists, it's going to take a long time
So
if we continue to allow fear to rule us.
Do you think fear is keeping us back?
Yeah.
Huh. That is an interesting notion. Because we know.
Yeah, because all of it, like what happened with me when I had my existential crisis. I'm like, what? I'm really talking to an alien? Like, who am I and what are we? Now, if we go through that, if we as a society have an existential crisis at the same time, that is not good.
No,
I mean, we could fall apart. We could starve. We could like die. I mean, all kinds of things could happen.
Yeah, and oh my God, I am so glad that you just said that, because now that can be included in my film. Because the film centers around that. That this notion. So maybe I'll have to make a stop up in Montreal and talk to you. But or
I'm not in Montreal. I'm in
you're not.
Carolina.
I was gonna say you're not in Montreal anymore. You're in North Carolina. Actually, you're in the same state as Mario Woods, and I am gonna be down there anyway. So beautiful. So we'll talk about that. But you're absolutely right. Now, Kevin Day and we spoke. He was the first interview I did on Total Disclosure. And he had said to me, he shook me to my core when he said that day on that ship in 2004, when the Nimitz saw the Tic Tac, he had been seeing them for days. But once they vectored Commander Fravors' flight, they had an actual VID, visual ID identification. His worldview literally halted. And then he was literally laughed into retirement in the next couple of years because of the event. People were making fun of him. He was the crazy UFO guy because he was, raising his hands in meeting and saying, we have a safety of flight issue here. Like, there's these things out there. He basically got laughed into retirement, and then his life just boom. He lost his wife. He began drinking heavily. This is the same story that Mario Woods has after being abducted on a base with nuclear missiles. So, I mean, you're absolutely right. What if we all had that in one? That's what a catastrophic disclosure looks like, is when everybody in the world has an existential crisis at the same time.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid that.
Yes, we are. And so the catastrophic disclosure has been a word that's being thrown around a lot right now. And at this point,
I personally think something might happen before the truth comes out, and that is this false alien flag.
So
that they're going to create between us and them, the others, which is going to be totally fake.
So the Dr. Greer kind of Werner von Braun last card to play, right?
Yes.
That kind of scenario.
Yes.
How do you think they would pull such a feat off?
Well, I had an experience where I had a friend come spend the night with me, and we both had an experience that night. And part of the experience was her in the guest room, and she woke up and she looked out the window, and it looked over the water, and she sees in the sky Jesus Christ. And she hears in her head, we can do this. See that? We can do that. It looks real, doesn't it? And we can do that. We can put anything in the sky, hologram, holograph, and fool you into thinking it's real. Now, at the same time, I'm having an experience in my bedroom where she came into my bedroom, she got into my bed, and I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "I'm scared." And then at that very moment, I felt a presence at the foot of my bed, and it was the Hat Man or the Men in Black. It was this astral black figure. It was blacker than the darkness of the room. It was tall. It had like the outline of a fedora hat and a suit. And as soon as I looked at it and recognized it, energy came out of it into me, into my chest, and it felt like there were tentacles, and it felt like it was just trying to pull me out of me, like trying to pull the essence of me just right out of me, like it almost like wanted to own me. And I could feel like this tug of war in my chest. And I was scared. Oh my God, I was so scared because I could not lose this battle because that being was a low vibe being. And I experienced enough with the supernatural to know that we're always in control. So I had this energetic battle with this being, and I kept insisting, "You will not win. You will not win. You have to go. I'm going to fight you. I'm going to fight you. You will not win." Finally, it gave up, and it felt like I fought for my life. And then I fell asleep. So the next morning I wake up and I said to my girlfriend, "Did anything weird happen to you last night?" And she goes, "Oh yeah." So
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it.
She told me about the Jesus Christ that she saw. And then I told her, "Well, yeah, then you came into my bedroom and you told me you were scared." She goes, "I never came into your bedroom." I go, "Yeah, you did. I was wide awake." She goes, "No, I never came in." I'm like, okay. So we both decided we were just not going to talk about it anymore. Which was my old MO, just ignore, ignore, ignore.
Yeah. Must have been a cool dream, right?
We knew it wasn't, but I do believe that Men in Black was attached to her. It's a low vibe being. And what happened was my friend, all of a sudden, she was a spiritual teacher. All of a sudden, she got really caught up in QAnon and pizza and babies and all that. And
she got into she went full Alex Jones, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if she was listening to him, but anyway, she was there.
She was definitely listening to him.
What you align with when you're focused there, you align with beings who live in that dimension, in that low frequency dimension. So that entity was hers, but it was messing with me. It's my house. Wherever we go, we take our beings with us.
Well, yeah.
So I guess I figured, let me see if I have a chance with SEV.
It said, I have an opportunity. It said, I have an opportunity here to grab a real experiencer and
what is that? Was the government, because I really wonder, are these Men in Blacks, these astral Men in Blacks that I call them, can our government enter our consciousness? Have they figured out that they can send like this entity that actually taps into our consciousness and plays with our minds? Can our government do this?
Yeah,
maybe.
What if it's like an avatar? You know, what if you know, I hate to say that, but an avatar of like an astral form, and I know that sounds crazy, but I mean, we look at you look at this combined artificial intelligence is already on the market. Like scary. Imagine what they have behind closed doors. And then pair that with the ability to 3D print and potentially 3D print organic material. Now we're talking some ability to create life, right? Essentially, especially if they've cracked that, general artificial intelligence. And I think they have. And they're not telling us, and that is a very big problem, and why leaders want them to halt the AI thing in general. But all of a sudden we start getting to a place where these things aren't so crazy anymore, right?
No.
They're just not. Science, they become science fact. And I think with some, even Dr. Greer's Disclosure 2.0, they talked about these direct energy weapons. Now, could that be a result? When people think of a weapon, they think of something like a gun that shoots you, right, or a knife that stabs you. But what if this isn't like a weapon like that? What if this is a weapon of the mind,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Of course.
And that's what they're using.
Yeah, they've been engaged in psychological or in psi warfare for decades. And they could be very well advanced in that playground of consciousness.
Right. Which is why that they're constantly probably being warned, to not play around with it. And then, bad things happen from there. But I just, it blows me away the naivety of humanity to this fact, because I mean, if that false flag operation does get kicked off, I would say that happens the next 5-6 years.
Or
If
less.
if it's gonna happen, it's happening soon, because
I agree with you.
they're either gonna attempt to like say China makes a move on Taiwan and they want to stop World War III, they may actually think that giving us a space battle to win will unite us, and that might be something they try.
Yeah.
And do you think? I mean, but do you think that it could possibly unite us? The just the information alone that we're not alone. Do you think that could unite us as a species?
I don't think until the individual human transforms into a kinder being, nothing's going to change.
Okay. Okay.
I
So
mean, that's
until
really the crux of everything, is that we feel out of control. And when you feel out of control, you get angry, you get mad, you get victimized, you want to hurt other people, you get jealous. We feel out of control. And why are we out of control? Because we're lied to constantly about our power to create and manifest our reality. We're lied to about our origin, about our ancestry. We're lied to about everything, every single solitary thing you can imagine. And intuitively, we know this, and we're getting tired.
we are, as a public, growing more and more intolerant of this, because who gave, and I pardon my language here, but who gave the government the right to fucking take reality and put a trademark on it like they own
That's
it?
right. That's right. That's such a good way to put it. Like they are creating what maybe one man, two men in the entire planet are creating our reality based on their egotistical needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is something that not only the world but the universe can no longer stand for, it seems. And
that's right. You're absolutely right, because just like we radiate energy, Earth radiates energy, and the energy that she's radiating is not very positive. It's not a high vibe. That energy radiates into the galaxies. Everyone's feeling it, and that's why they're coming and they're giving us these messages of love and hope. And they're teaching us. Because we're affecting their lives too. We're like I said, the troublemakers, and we need to be controlled.
Right. So it's like it's almost their obligation, right? It's not even that they feel that they necessarily care to step in. It's that they need to.
We're family. Just like if your mom or your dad was hurting, you would help.
Or if your brother was convicted of a serious crime, right? It's you can't stop loving that person because he's your brother, right? But just he did something terrible, and you only hope that he can learn from his sins and
Right.
potentially become a better person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, it's going to be in the incarceration system. And for us, it seems that we've been trapped on planet Earth for the time being because they don't want us out there yet. Not in body, not in physical form,
Yeah.
at least. So, Sev, you've been absolutely so fun to talk to, and
You
I
too.
would love to have you back on the show
Too.
as often and frequently as possible.
Oh, that's
I'd love to talk further about definitely including you in the documentary. And working so you have planetsev.com. Do you have
mhm,
Twitter or anything like
mhm.
that?
Instagram, Sev Talk, Facebook, Sev Talk, YouTube, Alien Spirit. I have videos on there. I actually created this 3-part series of guided meditations with my voice and high vibe music. And I also
Ooh.
talk about raising your frequency, and I help you connect to otherworldly beings. And people are connecting.
Well, that's awesome because I think you have a great voice for it. I
Thank
That
you.
yeah, and I'll definitely I have a on the channel. I have a playlist for the public, and it's guided meditations, and I'll add yours in there, your series because I
Thank
think
you.
I think that's I love that.
Actually, I just, you know how YouTube every year they give you like this
Uh,
little
uh,
lowdown,
uh, a
and then
little
my number one video was the one, was it how to channel.
yeah yeah that's amazing
We
and
all do it.
I can be, I am a testament. Like there have been multiple times where I've done a guided meditation where I like I I get so nervous that I pull myself out of it before I can actually get
Yeah,
get connected. But I feel it coming.
yeah.
I pull myself out, on purpose because I don't know if
I
I'm
love
ready.
that feeling. It's like a little rush.
Yeah, it's
It's cool.
weird.
Mhm.
It's you like letting go of your physical body is what I'm pretty sure is happening. And
Yeah.
at
Well,
that moment,
your focus is changing.
yeah, right, agreed. And it 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 scares me a little bit, and
Yeah.
I pull myself, and I pulled multiple times where I pulled myself out and been like, ah, like so upset about it because, but then, like I said yesterday, the sound bath, it really allowed me to just let go, to just because there's so much there's the vibrational frequencies and noise, and you can really kind of, for me, I'm always going, my mind is always racing, and this allowed me to really calm
Yeah, and look what
calm
happened. You had almost like what, an epiphany maybe? Yeah,
literally one of
happens
the
in
most,
moments of calm. That's
yeah,
why meditation is important. And
very
meditation
much so.
is not about making your mind blank or still. That's
No,
not what meditation is for.
no.
And that's why a lot of
um
people do it because they can't make their mind blank. I don't think I can make my mind blank.
yeah,
Why
I
do you
don't
want
think
to make your mind blank anyway? That's not why I meditate. I want to see things. I want to feel things. I want to hear things. I want to go places.
I want to learn. I want to,
Yeah.
that, yeah, I absolutely agree. Blanking your mind. I mean, that's just going to sleep. Like,
And even then
and
it's not blank.
even then, they take you
Well,
on
then you
journeys.
can see your
Even
mind.
even your body gives you the benefit of bringing you to places when you blank it, right? So, I mean, come on, let's get real here. Sev, you've been amazing. This has been such a fun talk.
Thank you.
So people follow her on YouTube, on
And the book
Instagram,
is on
and
Amazon.
yeah, I was going to ask about that. So they can get that on Amazon, and I'm sure your local bookstore can order it, or if you're like by a Barnes and Noble, maybe they have it as well. Is it still in print?
It in some bookstores it's in print, but the easiest place to get it is Amazon.
Okay. Okay. Great. Well, I'll include all those links in the description below for everybody. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your day to sit here and listen to Sev and I have this discussion. You guys are the lifeblood of the show, and it could not be possible without you. And as long as we're continuing to tell this message together and to go through this journey together, the better. And the more people that we can attract, that it's just becoming, this is overwhelming, the response that we've been getting lately, and the amount of people that are new and becoming interested in this topic because of what is happening in the public's eye. We may not see it in this vast quantity, but I can see it in the analytics, and the podcasts getting a lot more attention. So we want to thank everyone. If you want to go, take a step further, you can review on Apple and Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, Rumble, all those, and then you could join our membership for $5-10 a month, and gain access to this, like this, early interviews like this, ad-free content, yearly gift after 12 months, and so much more. Priority questions when we roll that out next month, and just absolute awesome time tonight, and we want to go out on a good note. So we'll see you guys on the other side.